The Battle of Sacile on 16 April 1809 and its companion clash at Pordenone on 15 April saw an Austrian army commanded by Archduke John of Austria defeat a Franco-Italian army led by Eugene de Beauharnais and force it to retreat. Sacile proved to be the most notable victory of John's career. The action took place east of the Livenza River near Sacile in modern-day Italy during the War of the Fifth Coalition, part of the Napoleonic Wars. In April 1809, Archduke John quickly invaded Venetia in northeastern Italy. On 15 April at Pordenone, the Austrian advance guard routed the French rear guard, inflicting heavy losses. Undeterred by this setback and believing he enjoyed a numerical superiority over his opponents, Eugene attacked the Austrians east of Sacile the following day. Though the two sides were equal in numbers of foot soldiers, the Austrians possessed a 2-to-1 advantage in cavalry, and this turned out to be a key factor in their victory. Eugene withdrew his army 130 kilometers to a defensible position at Verona on the Adige River, where he reorganized his army and received reinforcements. At Verona, the Franco-Italian army was secure from Archduke John's army advancing from the east and a second Austrian column threatening it from the Tyrol in the north. By the end of April, news of French victories in the Danube Valley caused John to fall back to the east, with Eugene in pursuit. Background: Austrian strategy in the early part of 1809. The Austrian Empire of Emperor Francis II determined to go to war against Emperor Napoleon I's First French Empire. Austria massed her main army in the Danube Valley under Generalissimo Archduke Charles. Though Italy was considered a minor theatre, Charles and the Half-Kriegsrat assigned 2 corps to the Army of Inner Austria and placed General der Cavallerie Archduke John in command. Regarded as incompetent by historian David G. Chandler, Archduke John had seen his first army utterly smashed by French General of Division Jean Moreau at the Battle of Hohenlinden on 3 December 1800. In Moreau's subsequent pursuit, John's army became so demoralized that it was scarcely able to defend itself and suffered huge losses in prisoners and weapons. During the War of the Third Coalition, he had done better. After Napoleon wiped out Feldmarschall Lieutenant Karl Mack von Lieberich's Austrian army in the 1805 Ulm campaign, John's army beat a hasty retreat eastward from its position in the mountainous Vorarlberg. He successfully linked up with the Army of Italy, led by his brother, Archduke Charles. Unfortunately for Austria, Napoleon's crushing victory at the Battle of Austerlitz ended the war before Charles and John could intervene in the Danube Valley. At the beginning of the 1809 war, John controlled Feldmarschall Lieutenant Johann Gabriel Chastel de Courcelles' 8 Army Corps of 24,500 infantry and 2,600 cavalry, and Feldmarschall Lieutenant Ignaz Gayle's IX Army Corps of 22,200 infantry and 2,000 cavalry. The 8 Army Corps assembled at Villach in Carinthia, while the IX Army Corps massed to the south at Ljubljana in Carniola. General Major Andreas Stojkovic with 10,000 troops faced General of Division August Marmont's 11th Corps in Dalmatia, a French possession since 1806. A body of 26,000 Landwehr stood ready to man garrisons and defend the Austrian heartland. John planned to have the 8 Army Corps move southwest from Villach and the IX Army Corps advance northwest from Ljubljana. The two forces would unite near Cividale del Friuli. Another source gave a somewhat different Austrian organization at the outbreak of war. Chastel's 8 Army Corps possessed 20,100 men and 62 guns in 2 divisions. Feldmarschall Lieutenant Albert Gayle led the 1st Division while Feldmarschall Lieutenant Johann Maria Philipp Fremont commanded the 2nd Division. Ignaz Gayle's IX Army Corps counted 22,290 soldiers and 86 guns in 3 divisions. The 1st Division was led by Feldmarschall Lieutenant Franz Gorup von Besenes. The 2nd Division was under Feldmarschall-Lieutenant Christian Wolfskeil von Reichenberg, and the 3rd Division was directed by Feldmarschall-Lieutenant Vinko Knežević. Feldmarschall-Lieutenant Guido Lippe was responsible for 30,000 landwehr and reserves. Before the Austrians launched the war, the Tyrol fled in a spontaneous revolt. The German-speaking Tyrolese under leaders like Andreas Hofer began driving out the Bavarian garrisons. Desiring to aid the rebellion, Charles ordered John to send Sacile and 10,000 Austrian troops to help the Tyrolese. Ignaz Gayle's brother Albert replaced Sacile as the commander of a reduced 8-army corps. The organization of Sacile's force is shown in the Tyrol 1809 order of battle. French strategy. Aware that Austria probably intended to make war, Napoleon reinforced the army of Italy under Eugene de Beauharnais, building the French component up to a strength of 6 infantry and 3 cavalry divisions. Many of these French troops were Italians, since portions of northwest Italy had been annexed to France. In addition, Viceroy Eugene formed 3 Italian infantry divisions. The Franco-Italian army counted 70,000 troops, though they were somewhat scattered across northern Italy. Before 1809, Eugene never led so much as a regiment into battle, yet Napoleon entrusted him with command of the Army of Italy. To prepare his steps on Eugene for the role, the emperor advised him how to defend Italy in many detailed letters. He wrote that if the Austrians invaded in superior numbers, the viceroy was to give up to the Isonzo River line and fall back to the Piave River. The emperor noted that the Adige River was a particularly important strategic position. Napoleon did not believe Austria would attack in April, and in any case, did not wish to provoke his enemy by concentrating his armies. Therefore, Eugene's army remained somewhat dispersed. At the beginning of hostilities, the Franco-Italian troops were stationed in the following positions. The 1st Division of General of Division Jean-Mathieu Serres and the 2nd Division under General of Division Jean-Baptiste Broussier deployed behind the Isonzo River. General of Division Paul Grenier's 3rd Division and General of Division Jean-Maximilien Lamarck's 5th Division assembled behind the Tagliamento River. The 4th Division of General of Division Gabriel Barbau des Courriers and the 6th Division under General of Division Pierre-François Joseph Durat, concentrated in north-central Italy. The 3 cavalry divisions and the Italian Guard organized behind the Adige River. Operations Archduke John's army invaded Italy on 10 April 1809. With the 8th Army Corps advancing through Tarvisio and IX Army Corps crossing the Middle Isonzo. After unusually rapid marching for an Austrian army, Albert Gayle's column captured Udine on 12 April, with Ignaz Gayle's forces not far behind. Planning on concentrating his army behind the Tagliamento River, Eugene directed Serres and Broussier to slow down the Austrians. But the 2 divisions were unable to hold John's advance. Even so, Eugene believed his army was strong enough to beat the Archduke in battle, so he ordered his divisions to assemble at Sacile on the Livenza River. Because of the Tyrolese revolt, the viceroy sent General of Division Achille Fontanelli's Italian division to Trento on the Upper Adige with General of Division Louis Barraghi de Liers in overall command. By 14 April, Eugene massed 6 divisions near Sacile with Lamarck's infantry and General of Division Charles Randon de Pully's dragoons still distant. At this time, the Italian Guard, Durat's infantry, and General of Division Emmanuel Grouchy's dragoons were still assembling on the Adige. Before the war, Eugene proposed to Napoleon that his infantry be formed into 3 corps, but the emperor had not replied to this request. Because of this, Eugene's army fought the coming battle as a collection of divisions, which had a detrimental effect on command control. Meanwhile, John used small forces to mask the fortresses of Osopo on the Upper Tagliamento and Palmanova south of Udine. The Austrians reached Valvisone on the evening of 14 April, but John ordered a night march. Fremont's advance guard was in the lead, with 8 Army Corps right behind. Slowed by the rainy weather, the IX Army Corps lagged behind. Battle. The units and organizations of both armies are shown in the Sacile 1809 order of battle. Pordenone. On the 15th of April, Eugene ordered his army forward across the Livenza. The French divisions of Grenier and Barbau moved through Sacile, while Serres, French and General of Division Filippo Savaroli's Italian division crossed at Brunera and moved toward the village of Tamai. Brucia's division crossed the Livenza to the north of Sacile. Meanwhile, General of Division Louis Michel Antoine Saarhouk's rearguard, consisting of light cavalry and the 35th Line Infantry Regiment, deployed 12 kilometers to the east of Sacile near Pordenone. Saarhouk's patrols brought word that Archduke John's troops were across the Tagliamento. But because Serres and Brucia had not kept a close watch on the advancing Austrians during their withdrawal, Eugene was unsure of his enemy's strength. Thanks to his scouts, Archduke John had a clear picture of his opponent's army. He ordered Fremont's advance guard to attack the French soldiers at Pordenone in the morning. At 6 a.m., the Austrians clashed with Saarhouk's cavalry patrols. General Major Joseph von Wetzel's Grenz brigade attacked across the Noncello stream on the east side of the town, attracting the attention of the defending infantry. When General Major Joseph von Schmidt's line brigade came down from the northeast, the French were compelled to stretch the 35th line to cover the north side of town. Saarhouk formed his horsemen north of the town, hoping to catch the Austrian attackers in the flank. But it was the French cavalry who were flanked when Fremont fell on them with 4 regiments of cavalry, routing them. Without cavalry support, the infantry in the town were forced to pull out. At Pordenone, the Austrians lost 221 killed and wounded plus 32 captured out of a total of 5,900 men and 15 guns. French losses were much heavier, 500 killed and wounded, plus 2,000 men and 4 guns captured out of 4,800 troops and 6 guns engaged. Many infantrymen of the 35th Line surrendered and the regiment lost an eagle and 2 colors. Historian Digby Smith wrote that the 35th was practically destroyed. In addition to the 3 battalions of the 35th Line, the 6th Hussar and the 6th Chasseurs à Cheval regiments were engaged on the French side. The Austrians committed 1 battalion of the Archduke Franz Karl Ionia, 52, 1 battalion of the Franz Jelassic Ionia, 62, and 2 battalions of the 1st Bernal Grenz Ionia, 10 to action. 6 squadrons of the Ott Hussar Regiment near, 5, 4 squadrons of the Fremont Hussar Regiment near, 9, and 2 squadrons of the Hohenzollern-Chevauleger Regiment near, 2 were also involved. Sacile, aware of the French build-up at Tamai to the southeast of his positions, Archduke John posted Albert Gayle's 8 Army Corps and Fremont's advance guard to defend Pordenone and Porcia. Ignace Gayle's IX Army Corps, which had arrived late in the day of the 15th, bivouacked just west of Pordenone, while his left flank held off the expected Franco-Italian attacks on Porcia. John planned to send Ignace Gayle first to Roveredo in Piano, then southwest in a lunge at Fontana Fredda and Ranzano. Still unaware of the presence of the IX Army Corps, Eugene believed he faced only 20,000 Austrians. He boasted, "In one day I will retake all of the territory I have abandoned at the moment." He knew that the Austrian cavalry enjoyed a numerical superiority over his own horsemen, since the terrain on the Austrian left flank was unsuitable for mounted action. He determined to move against it. He appointed Serres to command both his own and Savaroli's divisions in the attack. Eugene ordered Barbu's division to cooperate in the assault while Grenier pushed forward near Fontana Fredda. Brucia held the left flank with Saarhouk's troopers between him and Grenier. A 4-battalion task force watched for an envelopment on the far left flank. Covered by an artillery barrage, Serres moved out at 9 a.m. with his 2 divisions. They quickly seized Pauls and began assaulting Porcia. Fremont unleashed the Hussars, forcing Sacile to pause in his advance. This bought time for John to send 8 army corps in a counterattack against the Franco-Italians, in which severely was wounded and his division nearly broken. At this moment, Barbau joined the battle, and his division first checked the Austrians, then drove Fremont's troops out of Porcia. Seeing his attack having trouble overcoming the Austrian left flank, Eugene ordered Grenier to leave Fontana Fredda and throw his division into the battle on the right flank. Saarlouis and Brescia shifted to the right to fill the gap in the Franco-Italian center. Meanwhile, Ignaz Gale began his maneuver, leaving General Major Johann Klein as grenadier reserve to help defend the left flank. Reaching Roveredo around noon, he veered to the southwest, launching 3 infantry brigades at Eugene's thinned-out center about 1:30 p.m. With General Major Anton Gajoli's brigade holding Grenier's division near Roncha, the IX Army Corps threatened to overwhelm Brescia. Grenier rapidly disengaged most of his troops and sent him back to defend Fontana Fredda, while Brescia counterattacked near Vignovo. In the center, there was bitter fighting near Roncha as the French repelled one attack only to have the Austrian mount a second one. Eugene refused to commit Saarlouis' cavalry in the face of the Austrian superiority in cavalry. During this crisis, Sacile lost Porcia to an Austrian attack. Seeing that his main attack failed, Eugene ordered a withdrawal at 5 p.m. On the right flank, Saveroli and Barbau's troops covered the withdrawal. Historian Frederick C. Schneid believed that a mass cavalry attack could have smashed Grenier and Brescia, but Ignaz Gale kept Wolfskeel's cavalry behind his infantry. Instead, Saarlouis' threatened attack pinned the IX Army Corps long enough for Brescia and Grenier to get away. The 2 divisions retreated in square, each division lending support to the other. They finally reached the Livenza after numerous clashes with their Austrian pursuers. Nightfall allowed the 2 divisions to safely cross to the west side of the river. Sacile, Barbau, and Saveroli crossed the Livenza at Brunera the following morning. Result: the Franco-Italian army suffered 3,000 killed and wounded at Sacile. An additional 3,500 soldiers, 19 guns, 23 ammunition wagons, and 2 colors fell into the hands of the Austrians. Pages was wounded and captured while Test was wounded. According to Smith, the Austrians lost 2,617 killed and wounded, 532 captured, and 697 missing. Schneid gives 3,600 Austrian casualties and 500 captured. Archduke John decided not to follow up his victory. Since the 8th Army Corps was mauled in the fighting near Porcia and the IX Army Corps cavalry was worn out, instead, Fremont trailed after the Army of Italy with his advance guard. Schneid says, John's failure to pursue 1 week after Sacile was one of his greatest blunders. On the evening of the battle, Lamarck and Pully reached Conegliano after being delayed by wet weather and bad roads. Eugene used the 2 divisions as a rearguard as his defeated troops straggled back to the Piave. He also sent Barbau and 10 battalions to reinforce Venice, forcing John to detach a force to mask the Adriatic Sea port. The Franco-Italian army held the line of the Piave for 4 days, but fell back toward the Brenta River on the 21st of April. When the army of Inner Austria arrived near Verona on the 28th of April, it found Eugene in a strong defensive position behind the Adige. Meanwhile, Sacile captured Innsbruck on the 12th of April and Trento on the Upper Adige on the 23rd of April. The Tyrol detachment advanced as far as Roveredo on the 26th of April before being halted by Bareggi de Liers. Napoleon was enraged at his stepson's fumbling and he proposed to replace him with Marshal Joachim Murat, who was king of Naples at the time. Nothing came of this threat because by the time his letter arrived, Eugene was advancing again. The viceroy had accumulated reinforcements as he retreated, so that his army numbered 60,000 by the time it reached the Adige. Meanwhile, John's army shrank as it detached a force to observe Venice and a brigade to reinforce Sacile. News of Napoleon's victory over Archduke Charles at the Battle of Eckmühl on the 22nd of April caused Archduke John to fall back toward Austria at the beginning of May. The next engagements between John and Eugene were the Battle of Caldero in the last days of April and the Battle of Piave River on the 8th of May.